Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm one of the FYRE team leaders this year. I'm going to be a senior in Leverett House studying environmental science and public policy and studies of women, gender, and sexuality. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm originally from a small town in Mississippi. I'm going to be doing a vlog about professional communication and emailing. So as you've probably noticed by now, at the college, just a lot of communication is done via email. That does mean official communications from the college, but it also means, you'll see this when the school year starts, within student groups and between you and professors and teaching fellows. And there's a lot of student groups you can join where you'll actually be communicating with people outside of the college. And perhaps more importantly than any of that, it's just a really great skill and a really useful skill for things you'll probably use later on in your college career, which is networking, getting internships, getting jobs, things like that. Because even when things are normal and not the COVID situation that's happening right now, in a lot of professional situations, people will be seeing your emails before they get a chance to really see and meet you. So it's really important to get your best foot forward in that way. And I think it's especially important for first-gen and low-income students because there's a lot of secret rules and norms about emailing that just aren't taught to us in the same way that they are to people who are from richer families or have parents who have high-paying, high-achieving professional careers. So what I'm going to try to do in this video is break down step-by-step how to write a great email based on the just literally so many of thousands of emails I have sent to tons of people within the college, that includes administrators, students, staff, faculty, all of it. And a bunch of people outside of Harvard who I had to cold email for student works. So this is a skill that has taken me a few years, but I've gotten very good at it. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to write a perfect email. So let's start with the very first part, and that is who you're sending the email to. Now there's the three categories of to, CC, and BCC. And for some people, that is the first point at which they get confused and they're not sure what they want to do. And that's super valid. It's a little complicated. So what I've been told, and I think is a good general guideline to go by, though it's not a hard and fast rule, is that the to line is who you want to see the email and respond to it. CC is just where you want the person to see the email, read it, but they typically don't have to respond to it. And then BCC is the same thing, except they're not listed as a recipient. So the next step is your subject line. I think sometimes that writing the subject line is the hardest part of the email because it needs to be short, really concise, but it also needs to be clearly indicative of what the comments of the email. You probably get a lot of emails just throughout the course of your life that are clickbait. You don't want to clickbait someone in a professional email. Clickbait your friends in emails. I advocate for that, but you don't want to clickbait your professor. So in that subject line, there should be a very clear idea of what this email is going to be about, just from the subject line itself. Google actually has a feature now. I don't like it because they're observing me, but I do like it because it will auto-generate pretty decent subject lines for emails sometimes. So you have that. And oftentimes I will write the subject line of the email last, and that's what I'm going to do here. So then moving on to the kind of address line of the email, how you greet the person. So I see, and this is a great time to address, I think what a common mistake is of people who are kind of new to the email game is that they immediately go super formal on all communications. That's cool, that's fine, that's better than like being really unprofessional. So like if you're doing that, you're playing towards like the safer side. But it's not perfect, and we're going for a perfect email. So I'll see a lot of people who are just like writing to emails to me like a fellow undergrad, and they'll start with, "Dear Alex." That's very formal. You don't need to do that really for professors. Typically, I only use "dear" when I'm cold emailing someone who I'm like trying to get to speak at a conference or something. So only like in the most formal of situations will I use "dear." Most often I just use "hi" or "hello." So that's what I will use here. And then how you actually, let's not have that auto-generate. And then how you actually refer to someone, I think, is really, really important, because this is like the first impression of the first impression. So I really often, if I don't know someone's formal title, so basically like whether it's doctor or professor, because some of your instructors will not be professors, though if you're not sure what their title is, professor is a safe bet for any instructor. TFs, it's usually fine just to use the first name unless they tell you that's not okay. But yeah, so if I'm not sure if the person I'm emailing has a doctorate or what, then I'll like Google them real quick, figure it out. And this is definitely like the #1 place in the email where it's best to err on the side of more formal. So like I said, if you're not sure if someone's technically a professor, it's okay, I'm just going for professor anyway, because if it's like a bigger accolade than the one they actually have, they will almost certainly not be offended. But it's really good to do that research to make sure that you're addressing them as they should be addressed. None of your implicit biases are coming in the way. It's 2020, we're examining our implicit biases now. Yes, so that's your intro line. Right now, I'm just going to use "Hi, Nadia, Danny." They don't know I'm sending this email yet, so y'all get to see me tell them how cool they are on this email. Hi, Nadia and Danny, just because they're fellow undergrads and I can address them familiarly like this. And then we get to the first sentence of the email. Good guideline is like, if you haven't met them before, or if you haven't talked in a while, it's totally fine to just do like, you should do like a generic like opening, like how's it going type line. The generic, I hope this email you well. It's on my autocomplete because I type it a lot. That's fine. It's good to switch up a little now and again, especially if you email the same person frequently, to be like more specific to the situation. So I have emailed a lot of people recently with the first sentence, like, "You and yours are well in these trying times," or something like that. But yeah, if you haven't emailed them in a while or ever, stick that like nice little greeting in the front. Then this is something I don't think people do in their emails enough. Put something in there along the lines of, "I'm reaching out to discuss," and then whatever it is you want to discuss, whatever it is this email's about. Or I'm reaching out, if it's not like a discussion, more like a notification, I'm reaching out regarding whatever it is that your email is going to be about. And often what your subject line should be the general content of this line. The general content of this line should be your thesis statement, but for an email. And that just makes it really easy for people to read your email, especially when you're getting a ton of emails a day, which you will. That's Harvard, baby. It's the faster you can read them, the better. And that brings me to, wait, let me make this something. They're very cool. They're very cool people. I love them a lot. Then brings me to the body of this email. So plain language is fine. There's a difference between like plain language and super casual language. If it's professional email, shouldn't go super casual, but plain language is okay. You don't need to whip out the thesaurus to write an email. So yeah, just say what you want to say, be concise, be succinct. Again, because people are getting a lot of emails in a day. You want your email to address everything it needs to address, but to do so in the quickest way possible and the most readable way possible. So I highly advocate the use of text formatting in emails. Don't use it too much, but use it to highlight what your main points are. So for this, I can say, I'd like to discuss the following topics with you. And let's say I'm going to put a list of things in here. I frequently use bolding and italics, and sometimes even highlights to point out important information in my emails, since this is just a sample and it's going to be so short. But I am going to show you my 100% favorite thing to put in emails, which is bulleted lists. Anytime I have to put a list of something, I make it a bulleted list, just because bulleted lists are so much easier to read than the lists that you like type out with commas, right? So, so I'd like to discuss the following topics of convenience, make that colon, and then boom, bulleted list time. Conclusion. So if necessary, so if it's a longer email, kind of remind the person you're sending it to about any action items. So you can say something like I hope to hear back from you soon, and be like a light push that, hi, I am like expecting a response from this. This isn't just like to notify. Again, you don't need to do this in like every email you're expecting a response to, but if you're sending something where you're like, I feel like it could be ambiguous whether I'm expecting a response, stick that in there. It works. Whereas like if you're sending out, if there's like a form you need filled out, or you're sending out a survey to some people, you can just, especially if it's a longer email, stick a sentence in at the end reminding people about that. And this is also a great part to just thank them for their time. If you are late in responding to the email, which I frequently am, you can put a quick like thank you and I'm sorry in there. Thank you for time. And then we get to the little, what's it? I don't remember what the word is that you used to sign off, but we're going to talk about that. So a lot of people, when they're being overly formal, they write sincerely. Again, that's like dear. That's like the most kind of formal of formal situations for an email. I only use that when I'm like cold emailing people who have like LinkedIn Gold. So my go-to is best, love best. I use several different variations of that. I use all my best, all the best. Those are a little more personal. But best is go-to, so is thank you. Yeah, you can probably find a list of email settings. But yeah, you don't need to use sincerely. Signatures like these are optional. You can change that in your Google settings, and this is just on every email I see you start to send. Yeah, a lot of people have them with just their name, their class, what they study. Excuse me. I like to put my pronouns in here just because I don't like people to make assumptions about my pronouns. Some people don't do that, and that's okay. And then I just have this because I think it looks like professional. I feel like it looks like a business card if my email's on here. And I know that's redundant because this is an email, but like, let me have this. Things to do before you send. So make sure everything is spelled correctly. Most importantly, names. Always, 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 if you think you've checked whether the person you're sending this to's names is spelled correctly enough, you have not. You need to check it again. especially if this is an instructor or a person who you're trying to get to employ you, because that's just about the worst thing you can do is spell their name wrong. I had a professor who I could never spell her name right, so every time I sent her an email, I would Google her just to make sure. So always make sure you're spelling the person's name right, most importantly, but also just give it a quick spell check, grammar check, etc. Make sure all the information you meant to put in there is in there, and make sure that whatever files you're trying to attach have been attached. Because it's just awkward to have to be like, oh, I'm Boo-Boo the Fool and I forgot to attach this. I do that all the time because I have ADHD, and it just be like, check to make sure you put a subject line in. I love this auto-generated subject line, so I'm going to use that. And some people I know have set it in their Gmail settings to make it so that there's an automatic like 10-second delay on any email they hit send on, and that just gives them a second to make sure that everything is in there that they want to send. I don't typically do that. I'm, again, more about just like reading over it and then sending it. Something I do frequently utilize though is this here, schedule send. So if you want someone it's good for two things. So either getting something at the top of a person's inbox in the morning. So most people like go into work and start checking their emails around 9 a.m. And if you want that thing to be like the first thing in their inbox, and so they'll respond quicker, then you don't want to send that at like 8 p.m. the previous night. Then that's going to be buried under any emails that got sent between 8 p.m. and 9 a.m., which is surprisingly a lot. You'll see if you haven't already. So yeah, great way to get it at the top of the person's inbox. Also a great way if you don't want your professor to know that you were writing an email to them about 3 a.m. when you were panicking about your paper. I've done this. Just schedule send it for a reasonable time in the morning and you'll be fine. And they will never know. They might assume, but they'll never know. So yeah, I want this at the top of Danny and Nadia's inbox tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do that. I hope this was helpful, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk to me about emailing or anything else. I love talking to FYRE people, including FYRE Prefrosh. Yeah, I think my email is on the FYRE website, and yeah, okay, bye.
Thing that helps supporting my dream, and I can't forget my family, helping keep my sanity no matter what I do. I know they'll always stand for me.